code. That's it. So let us quickly leverage this time to look into Azure DevOps capacity planning, like I promised the last time. I want to assume that the manual spreadsheet one that I shared with you all, we were able to consume that. So if anybody has any question around that, please let us know after we are done with the Azure DevOps Go. Let me share my screen. I'm just pulling this up. Okay, so I'm going to the project. So please, the same way you're playing with Jira, getting yourself familiar with Jira should be the same way you're familiarizing yourself with Azure DevOps. I already shared the link, everything you need to download and install Azure DevOps, and then create your projects and start playing with it. All right. So now I'm not sure if you already heard this in maybe one of the training videos, that I typically say I love Azure DevOps for other reasons, but the most important reason is because Azure DevOps by default comes with a capacity planner. Meanwhile, Jira doesn't. Jira, you need to figure out a way to plan your team's capacity, which is why we leverage other tools like the Excel spreadsheet template that I taught in that chapter 6 that I shared.
Just
And
interrupt. You say the paid version of Jira offers the capacity.
yeah, I was coming there. Yes. So they have an add-on. They actually have capacity planner, but that is a different product. It's an add-on. So if you want that, then yes, you can buy it and add it to your Jira. And then yes, you can have it in there. So that's all. But with Azure DevOps, see, it has a capacity planner. And how do you find that in Azure DevOps? Once your project is open, you go to sprints. You click on the sprints, given that you've created the sprints. Well, once you create a project, just like Jira, you have all these options on the left side, and then you go to sprints. Oh, okay.
I did the
Hold
same.
on.
I'm looking on mine because I play with it. I put it some capacities. The only thing that it doesn't really simulate a real thing is because it's only me on that team. I don't have like multiple members, you know.
You don't have people. The way I have seen other students do this in the past is you can ask your family. That's an opportunity for you. Anybody that you think may be interested in learning anything new, not that they have to learn like that. Just, add their email to it and you can play with them. Secondly, most importantly, leverage your classmates here.
Okay.
Leverage your classmates here. You all
I
can go
was
in there and play with it.
I was thinking today on doing that, but I'm like, okay, I'll ask first at the like during the class. I'll ask them and
Yeah.
then okay.
I mean, the worst situation is most of the time, team members will accept, which they should, and then they are just not active in it.
Okay.
It's okay. Yeah, but in level 2, you have more opportunity to really do that in level 2 because they typically use Azure DevOps and Jira to do their stuff. Okay, so now where you are at sprints, checking here, this is capacity. If you are added to the team as a user, let me just say this because this is a big common problem. It's a simple thing, but most people just get overwhelmed and confused when they get in this problem. If you are added to the board as a user, because there are different levels of accessibility. If you're added as a user, you go to your sprint, you will not find this capacity planner. But if you have the editor right, you will this capacity planner will show here. Someone like Niku, he has been attending level 2, those meetings that we invited you guys, he's been attending. So you would see those Agile practitioners who came to do this event with us. They said, oh, coach, I'm not able to see my capacity, the capacity planner on my end. It's because I didn't give them that access. Because this is BeingAgile space and they are not internal to BeingAgile. So I only gave them user access. That's why they were not able to see the capacity. All right. So yeah, that's it. Now, how does this work? The way it works is during I typically as a scrum master, to stay effective and efficient towards a good sprint planning, I proactively remind the developers to go in here and update their capacity. I am not the one to do it. My own is to ensure that it is done, you see. But most of the time, they don't know how to do it. which is where if you realize that they don't know how to do it, maybe it's their first time of even hearing about this, you train them, because you cannot be guiding someone from a place of a novice. They have to be knowledgeable about the stuff first, and then you can start providing guidance towards implementation. And training is very simple, just like I'm doing right now. Very quick and simple. Just explain to them how it works. As a Scrum Master, one of your biggest tools is you have to be comfortable explaining things to people. That's really it. There's no other way. You have to
Yep.
be very comfortable breaking things down, explaining things to people, and be patient. Because you can explain it 2, 3 times, not everyone will get it. So don't get frustrated. Be intentional about not getting frustrated when someone still don't get it. Be patient with them. All right. Yeah. So they'll come in here. This is how it works. So your team members are already listed. If you don't see a team member's name, because just because a team member is added to your project, it doesn't mean that your name will automatically populate here. It will not automatically populate here. You will need to add them. So how do you add them? You come to add user, click on it, and then you just go there, type their name that you know. So you need to know their name.
See how it's gonna work?
What's that?
So can you put my email to see how it's gonna work?
All right. Is your email in here? You're not in here. So you would definitely not pull up because you're not in here. You have to be in the system. You have to be in
In
the
the
organizational,
top part of
not
it.
only in the system though. You can be in the organization system, but you will still not be pulled up here if you are not assigned to a project in Azure DevOps. You have to be assigned to that particular project. Let's say, for example, if these teams, as they're in here, if you look them up on another project inside this Azure DevOps, you will not find them there because they've not been added to that project. See?
Okay.
Yeah, so you come here, you look them up. You need, like I said, you need to know their username, and most of the time is their email. Just type the email or their name, you'll find them there. And then once you select it, they'll be added to this list here. That's the first thing. And then the second thing now, the team members should understand. Again, it depends on the organization. Some organizations consider full-time employees to work for their productive hours to be 6 hours per day, assuming that 2 hours per day would be just being useless. That's how I like to put it. Or being unproductive, just kind of wallowing around and not really doing anything, take breaks and, go to the bathroom, chit chat. So to be realistic, and that's why I love Agile, because Agile really helps us to be realistic. But waterfall, for the most part, they will be taking into account all the 8 hours, which is not realistic, you see, which is why most projects always fail. Yeah, so if they're full-time, it's going to be 6 hours per day. If they are contractors, most of the organizations out there, they expect you as contractors to be productive for all your 8 hours because they are not paying for your break time. They are not paying for all of that. So you should be productive 8 hours per day. So yes, based on that information, all they have to do is, let me just zero this out. Where it says capacity per day, this column that says capacity per day, this is where they will come in. Oh no, I don't want to change this information. All right, let me see. Let me create another capacity board. This one is for the current sprint. Let me create capacity board for the next sprint because this one is an ongoing sprint and the capacity has already been set. I don't want to go changing things in here. See. So to create capacity for the next sprint, this board here, because you will not always have this here though. You have to keep creating for every sprint, but the same info you can there is a way for you to carry this same information to the next sprint. How you do that is you come to these 3 dots here, click on it, and then it will say copy from last sprint. You can either select that option or you say add all team members, but I'll typically click on copy from last sprint. All right, now that we've copied from last sprint, as you can see, most of them have been zeroed out though. But I would want to align this to sprint 3, future sprints, because we are proactively getting the capacity planning ready for the next sprint. That's what we are trying to do right now. There is a current sprint that is ongoing. Their capacity has already been planned and they are doing their work. I don't want to disrupt that. So I want to stay proactive, which is why I'm already getting the next ready, sprint 3. So I'll click here. You see where I clicked? So if I come to this drop down, click on the drop down and then just select the sprint. So now we are doing capacity planning for the upcoming sprint, not this ongoing sprint. All right. So we come in here, assuming this person is a full-time, put in 6 hours per day. And then this person is also full-time, 6 hours per day. This one is contractor. We're gonna put 8 hours per day because they're expecting you to be productive for all your 8 hours. And then all these other people are contractors, 8 hours per day. 8 hours per day. 8 hours per day. 8 hours per day. That's the first thing. Now, the second thing, which is also very important, is where it says the column that says days off. This is where team members will come in here and enter any day that they plan to take off, that they will not actually be doing work. Now, one other thing that I want us to be clear about here, which most teams that I've seen, Scrum Masters, they really don't take this into account, but I think if they don't take it into account, they are setting the team up for failure or for unrealistic expectations. When they come to where the team members have to enter their days off, they are only focusing on entering the days that they are actually taking off work. Let's say they will not be working that day, but they fail to take into account those other meetings or other things that the teams will be doing that doesn't contribute to the sprint goal work. For example, we have most tech leads hardly ever commit to doing actual development work for the team with all of their hours. Only typically, let's say if they're supposed to put in 80 hours in a 2 weeks sprint, they only actively put in 10. Remaining 70 hours is typically for other meetings, like other leadership meetings, because they're expecting these tech leads, they are the voice of the tech voice of the team. They are the ones who usually connect to other leadership meetings and communicate what's going on with the team, the challenges of the team, follow up on different things. So they are hardly ever, and then team members also always reach out to them for help with different things. So they hardly ever, are able to commit to doing real development work. So we also want to take all of that into account. For example, let's say this person, Abiola, is a tech lead. When we come in here, we're asking Abiola, assuming that maybe Abiola is the one updating or myself, from that understanding, I'm asking Abiola, okay, so instead of saying how many days do you plan to take off or are you going to be off, I would rather say, how much hours do you have to commit to this sprint goal? That's how I ask the question. I try to ask the right question so that it helps us stay realistic. So when I ask it like that, and then this person now will be forced to think about, okay, their time off and then other meetings and all these other things. In this typical scenario, I actually have a person in mind that I've worked with, but I don't want to mention their name here, but I'll call this person Abiola. Abiola said, okay, I'm only going to be able to commit to this sprint work for 10 hours. That's just one example. And with that in mind, it means that the person may say, I can only commit 10% of my time. That's really how they say it. I can only commit 10% of my time to this sprint goal. All right, with that in mind, then we'll come in here and then we'll consider, let's start from when the 28th.
From March.
28th of February, let's just say.
Yeah, but I was
when does the sprint start? No, the sprint starts on March 6th.
Yep.
Yes, the sprint starts on March 6th. Right, you're right. All right, we can come in here and then from March 6th, we select that and then let me go for here. From March 6th up until we would only be leaving, no, where is 2 weeks? Yes, 2 weeks. The last day of the sprint is Tuesday 19. So we can estimate and leave it at 18th, considering that this person may only have that time. That's all. So we'll just estimate to say, okay, this person can only give 1 day of the 2 week sprints to the team's work. That's how we look at it.
Or we can,
go ahead.
If we can consider 10 days and we just can put 1 hour per day and would give him the 10 hours that he says.
Yeah, that's another option. Or one thing too I want to make clear is that for a team that is really mature and they really trust themselves, hardly ever we are that rigid to say, okay, 10% must be 10 hours like that, because we know that we have built trust within ourselves. If this person in the course of the sprints have that flexibility to do more, they will speak up, they will pick more work because they are that honest. You see, so we have that rigid like that. I just wanted to say that, yes, but the option you mentioned there would be a great one. All right, and then for all these other people, Adeyemi said he will be off one day in the sprints. So we need to know the day. He will say something like, okay, I'm going to be off on the 17th of March. No, I'm going off on the 7th of March. So we come in here, we select the 7th. When are you coming back? And no, I'm just going to be off for one day. That's it. So he's only going to be off for one day. We'll put it there. And then this Arvina says that, oh, I'm going to be off for 2 days. Okay, when? I'm going to be off from the 11th of March. So we select the start and end date of that person's time off. And then all the other people say, oh no, I will be available. I'm not taking any time off. So you leave it all at that.
And
You're
then
not
if we
changing
have a
anything.
holiday, we just use the very last one that says team days off.
What's that?
If we have a holiday, for example, when nobody
Yeah,
works.
yes, like public company holidays, would so if we come in here and enter company, but in this case, I'm not looking to enter any company holidays. But let's say it's Christmas. It's not Christmas. What is happening in
March
March?
8th, International Women's Day. Come on.
All right, what's that date though?
March 8th.
March 8th. I'm actually forgetting this date. Meanwhile, I've been invited to speak on the PMI panel, Project Management Institute panel on this Women's Day. So again, I'm just saying if you all have time, it's online, it's virtual. I will share that information. Please connect. Okay, so see. So now it has considered the one day of company holiday, means that everybody will be off that one day. So it will automatically factor into their overall capacity. Now that we have this information, take note. If you don't click this save button, nothing will save. And then you go and start work, doing your stuff. You think that you set capacity. Meanwhile, you're working on faulty information. That's also the downside of this Azure DevOps.
Okay.
Because by default, the save button will not give you alert that, okay, you have to save. But you can go in there and play with the tool, and you set the save button to give you alert, to be a required, so that it will give you alert when you're checking out of this space without saving, so that you don't have to cancel everything and come back and do rework. So that's it. That's Azure DevOps. Yes, Nico, please go ahead.
Sorry. So if we're using an Excel sheet, then like from the example, you can consider deducting those the time that we spend for the meetings for the sprint events.
Yes, it's the same.
But over here, let's say if you consider 8 hours a day, and let's say a person, for example, doesn't have any days off, anything. So for example, we look at the fourth one, at Tim Berners, right? As a
Yeah.
example. Now they off 8 hours a day. Boom. If that person is attending, and he will attend the sprint events, we'll have to deduct. That means this is not accurate.
No, this actually takes into account all of that in
Oh, it
addition
does.
to the sprint event.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So now when we're saying active time, the way they'll be Geraldine is here, the way they're planning their work, they also know that, okay, we will be spending all this time in a meeting. So now when they are committing to their user stories, they have all of that in mind. They typically reserve a buffer. Within that buffer, say 20% of what they overall giving them. Anyway, let's go to the product backlog here and see. You see the capture here. But right now, it is all grayed out because we've not sprints. Right now, we only have one item committed into the sprints. And the item, I don't even think the item is estimated. Yeah, the item has not been estimated. Now, this brings me to the next point. You can actually do these items, but capacity doesn't go by story points. Story points is at story level. Now I'm answering the question that one student asked in our last class. At this capacity level, for us to leverage that capacity planning, and which is why I like this tool, because it kind of forces, I don't want to use the word force, but that's the truth. It forces teams to really break down their work in little chunks. That way we have at least some guarantee that they really understand the complexity of the work. They have visibility into the different moving pieces, and it will increase our chances of achieving our goal since we'll be delivering in really little chunks. So for this to work, they have to come in here on every work item and create tasks. They need to task out all of the stories. So let me just use, I don't want to doing all the so many different tasks, but let me just create tasks for this one item here. Oh, okay. Let me go back to the backlog view. All right. So how do you create tasks? The easiest way to create tasks on story, you just come to the story. You see this plus button. You click on the plus button, and then you can create a task. Let's assume that this task is, let's say, design. Then you fill in the necessary details, just like you would do with user stories. But I'm not going to worry about that right now for the sake of time. So that's it. And then you come to, yeah, like I said, fill in the necessary details. So this will be assigned to, let me assign this one to this person. That's the most important thing. You have to assign it to somebody. Well, it's not mandatory, but I typically do that so that we can measure how much person has committed to. And why I like this is so that we don't want some people to become so much work, and then some people are just kind of hiding behind and not really doing too much. So this helps us really gain visibility into our commitments, and then we balance things up as well. So I'll show you that. All right. So yeah, that's it. And then now this is what is required for us to get that data. Where it says remaining work, this is where you come in here and put in the hours. So this person is estimating that it can take 3 hours to do the work. Put in the 3 hours. Click save and close. Let's add one more task there. And then this task is assigned to this person. Let's estimate this at 5.
I actually know him, how he looks like from
Yeah, okay. One more. Let's put testing. Okay, let's assign this to, let's put in 6 hours here. Let's do the last one. Let's do review. So you see all these things are now, I hope this now makes sense on when we say outcome versus output. We don't want our user stories to be output driven. Output would be these tasks that we are creating. Those are outputs because customers don't really get any value from it. But by the time they are done with all these tasks, they're achieving a user story that is usable, valuable, shapeable. But the mistake most organizations or team members do is they create tasks and call them stories. And the tasks, they don't give any value to the customers when they say they are done with the task. Okay, let me assign it to someone else just for data's sake. All right, let me assign this to this person. And then let's estimate this at 6 hours. All right. Let me refresh. Okay, you see, now that I've refreshed my screen, what this is reading so far, this is telling us that, okay, in total, we have 470 hours available
capacity.
as a team. That's our team capacity. Going by the capacity planning we've done, it's giving us the overall data here. We have 470 hours available as a team. We have only committed to 20 hours as a team. So we still have a capacity of this amount of time. So 470 minus 20, it will be 450. So we still have up to 450 hours available, free. Yeah. So we can now use this information to say, oh, okay, we can take in more work. That kind of thing. That's how the conversation usually happens. And then they'll continue to pull in more work. I will never guide my team to fill up everything up onto this black line here because they may turn out to be it may be too tight. So let us agree what is our typical standard buffer as a team. I've worked with one team, they agreed at 20%. Some other team agreed at 15%. I've worked with another team that agreed at 10%. It really depends on the team and their reality and their specific circumstances. So they would fill it up until here, you see. And then this one that is empty is for any unforeseen circumstances that may happen in the course of the sprint. That's it. And now that's one thing that I pay attention to. And then I really don't pay attention to this the deployment, how much time spent for deployment, on all of or testing documentation. I really don't worry about all of that, which again for data sake is important. Sometimes they can come in here and assess all these things for whatever reason. But the other part that I worry about is, you see, you remember when I said we also want to make sure we are balancing the work so that, because we typically have those people on the team that are so zealous and over ambitious. And then because of that, some people take advantage of them. Those people will commit to a lot of work, and they're not complaining, while others will just be fine with it, like, hey, God, you're nice, nice, nice. So we want there. So typically, not like I'm saying, oh, you've not committed to so much work, you have to get another one. No. But think about it. If you are a part of the team, and then from a transparent place as this, we are discussing planning the work, and then looking at your own, say this person a team, maybe she's not committed to anything. And then she's just quiet, not saying anything, not putting her hand up to say, okay, I think I need work because I don't have anything in the course of the sprint. And everybody is really discussing, and you can see, okay, let's say someone like Adeyemi has filled out, his capacity is like almost at the black level or even red. Sometimes they overcommit. So once they overcommit, it's going to turn red. Okay, let me show you that. Let me go and show you that. Say Adeyemi has 48 hours based on the capacity planning. Let me make it turn red here. Let's go to the task. This is Adeyemi's task.
Make it 50 hours.
Yes, let's make it 50 hours and see what happens. See, this is telling us that Adeyemi has overcommitted. Adeyemi, you've committed to 50 hours, but you only have 48 hours. Are you comfortable with that? Are you okay with that? Sometimes they'll be like, yeah, don't worry about it. I think I don't have anything to do this weekend, so I will just be in here. And once they confirm they're okay with it, that's fine. And then you see some team members, they've not committed to nothing. They may commit to an hour of work and they're just kind of okay with it. So from a transparent place, we're having that conversation. Oh, Atim, I see you've only committed to 3 hours. What do you have to say? I'm letting them talk. And then they'll be like, oh, okay. I think I may pick more in the course of the sprint. I'm like, okay, that sounds like a good thought. However, because we are actually planning now, if we can identify that work and bring it into the sprint, since we still have that capacity, that would be good. And then we can now go now and discuss some items and pull them into the sprints and this person will assign themselves to that work. Another scenario would be, yes, this person only has 3 hours. However, this person will be assisting because you cannot assign two people on a specific task, right? But this person, they shared understanding that they will be pair programming with Adeyemi, even though Adeyemi is red, but in reality, that team will be assisting him on those different things. As long as they have that conversation, we all agree. And then they'll be like, no, yeah, it's fine. And then we'll leave it at that. That's another common scenario. And then another scenario would be, think about the team, what do you call him? The dev lead. There are times when the dev lead, during capacity planning, they'll incorporate all their 6 hours per day. And then it will all show here. But since we already know the dev lead only has maximum 1 hour to give per day or 10 hours in the sprints, we keep that in mind. While we are planning our capacity, we ensure that he doesn't go over 10 hours. That's another scenario.
So is the capacity like the time that the work hours the person can do during the sprint?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. That's what it's all about? Like the hours the person can commit during the sprint?
Yes, that's the available capacity.
Okay.
But two, you have available capacity, you have required capacity. Available capacity, going to the overall where it says team, available capacity would be 470 hours. And this actually pulled up from the capacity planning we did earlier when we were here. You see. Now, what is the required capacity? Required capacity is how much time do we need to do the work? And required capacity will be pulled from all the estimates that we've entered at the task level. That's where we get the required capacity. So in this case, based on all the estimates that we've put in here, in total, our required capacity is 65 hours, you see. So that's it. So the key now, based on all the things we've talked about, another important thing overall is to ensure that our required capacity is not above the available capacity. Because if required capacity is higher than available capacity, we're already setting ourselves up for failure. because time is fixed. You cannot clone yourself. You cannot do magic. You have 8 hours per day. You only have 8 hours per day. You see. So now this helps us to make adjustments. Okay, now let me make the here. Our available capacity is 470 hours. Let's go to required capacity. Let me take on this Madeleine's. Let me just open the whole thing. All right, let's say Madeleine actually needs 480 hours to complete this task. This is really outrageous. All right. See, now our required capacity. What's the capacity we need to do this work?
The 539.
Yes, that is what we need to finish the work. And what do we have available as a team?
470.
Good. Now we are using data. We all can see that we are already setting ourselves up for failure. There's no magic. We've overcommitted. So team, what do? We need to make adjustments. So in this case, they'll come back and start seeing how they can reprioritize. They can now remove some items from the product backlog and drop from the sprint backlog and drop it back into the product backlog so that the capacity will finally be balanced. That's one option. Hold on, Nicole. Second option would be if all of the things they have in the sprint backlog is really, really important based on what's been communicated by the stakeholders that they really want all these things done by the end of the sprint, because it's that critical. Pulling some item back into the sprint may not be an option at that point. So this is what we call trade-off, though, what I'm talking about right now. That's where this is trade-off. Another trade-off option would be they can reach out to other developers from other teams, ask if they are available to help just for that sprint. And then sometimes they would say, yeah, they would bring them in and then they would assign some of the work to them so that we can finish that work. That's another option. And then the third trade-off option, let's say, okay, looking at what we have in here, it's really not that big of a deal if we don't finish a specific item in this particular sprint. And now we've overcommitted. They can come in here and then look for a work item, a big work item. They pull it back into the sprint and then they can pick a smaller one that will not take so much time and bring it into the sprint. Those are the three common trade-off options that are available. That's it. But the point is, just be sure that this is not red. Because if it's red, clearly it's saying that you've overcommitted and you may definitely not achieve the goal. Yes, Nico, go ahead.
Okay, how do the actual developer, the team member, how is he logging in his time spent? Let's pretend now the Agile consultant, like the last one that is committed to. Okay, how can you enter the task and see how exactly are they logging in the hours that they spent?
Okay, let's go in here and see what happens. All right. Well, so they're not required to come in here and log in any hours. So as they are doing the work, how we are able to track progress is it depends on them updating their board. Let's go to task board here. When they are moving the work across in progress, so once it goes to done, let's go check their capacity, at team's capacity and see. Oh, the sprint has not even started. I'm not supposed to be moving these things like this. Anyway, let's go back to backlog. So looking at where is our team here? See, our teams has zeroed down. Our teams has zeroed out because she's done with the work. So now you'll see that our team still has 72 hours left, but she has committed to nothing.
Because her task became a done instead of to do in progress. That's goes out once it reaches done. Okay.
Yes. So it will only read when it gets to done, which is why it's very important that they update their work on daily basis. One of the mistakes that or anti-pattern that I've seen too is, yeah, they will be making progress. They're actually getting things done, but they are not updating the board to reflect the reality. So it will look like they are not making progress. And when they go to their, let's go to a chart. The sprint has not started. I'm not sure how this data will pull up, but let's check it out. No, let's go to there. Actually reading. No, it's still showing the second sprint here. Yeah, because the sprint has not started. That's why I cannot show you that information right now. I'm going back. Yeah, so the dashboard is actually real time. So it captures information for the current sprints, and we're actually talking about the future sprints here.
Please, that on that chart, do we create it ourselves, or as we start our sprints and progress our work, does it update automatically, or we have to create it?
Like I said, it will the data that pulls up. So I think your question, you're asking two different questions. The first question is who creates it. The second question is are we supposed to be updating it as Scrum Masters? Those are two questions. So to answer your first question, who creates it? Anybody can do this. Yourself as a Scrum Master. Because I mean, let me tell you, when you join the team, right? In my own experience, nobody ever tells you to do these things, which is why I'm discussing these things with you right here, right now. Because they'll tell you. So you need to use your own initiative to say, okay, how can this team be better? Right now, they really don't have any way to measure work. And, most of the time they commit to things and they don't finish it. And then you see that, oh, how can I help them make realistic commitment? And then you think of, oh, capacity. If they plan their capacity and they have data, real-time data, they can better with commitments. Then that's when you go ahead now to introduce capacity planning to them. And then how do you progress the daily progress of work? And they think about metrics like a burn-down chart. And then you will need to come and set it up. And it's very easy to set that up. I can make another video, to show, and I will share with you all on how to do that. Yes, but setting that up, you don't create it because all those things are already created in these tools automatically. All you need to do is just to come and set it up. It's just like you bought a new phone. Those functionalities in your new phone, you are not the one who created them, right? But you need to set up your phone.
Yeah.
Yes, you need to set up your phone to work the way you want it to work. Pick the important features and let them be showing on your homepage and things like that. You see, so it's the same thing here. But again, that's a something for time. No. Yeah, so that's it. That's really it. Just wrap up with this capacity planning here before we run out of time. So again, team, that's pretty much all what capacity planning is about. So at this point, any question?
Please, one more
Like 1
question.
second, let me turn on my light here. It's getting dark. Yes.
So this timing, if for example the sprint is working for 10 days and each team member says I can dedicate 6 hours a day. So to get that total, is it that it's going to time 6 times the 10 days to give us that 470?
Yeah. And this tool does it automatically for you. You don't do nothing. All your own is to come in here, enter the hours they have per day, enter the time off, and then the thing will do the math for you.
And plus those events will be deducted. 15 minutes a day for the daily scrum. And
No, it doesn't. So, like I said, going by this automated tool, they don't think about, okay, how many events do they have? No. Where that applies is, let's go to the backlog here. Let's go to this view. This is where it applies. When they are doing their planning, they've agreed on a buffer, then they reserve that the buffer they are reserving, they are taking into account those kind of things. That's where it applies. Yes. All right. Any other question?
Yeah.
Mhm.
How do you manage this board, let's say, because my question is related to the difference between Scrum and Kanban, right? When you have to switch to Kanban, how do you manage this? Who controls it? I mean, that's why I got a bit lost. Like how that happened.
All right. So, this actually is a Scrum board.
Yeah.
This is a Scrum board. If your team of a team, based on the nature of their work, they typically do Kanban work as well. Then you can create a Scrum board and a Kanban board attached to a project. Yeah, you can do that.
Ooh, okay, that's complicated. Okay.
These are just boards attached to a project, right? A project is the board. So as you create a project, this was the board you selected. You can go back again and, in the process of you can go create a board and select this same project and attach to it. Let's say if they get to that point where they will need to use Kanban, all they have to do is they'll just go select the board they want. So the options here will be different though.
Ooh, okay,
Yeah,
that's more.
that's it. And keep in mind that the free version may not have all those sophisticated options. Keep that in mind as well. All right. Any other question, please? We have 2 minutes to go.
Quick one is which chapter did you mention about this backlog? Sorry, I wrote it down when I was going through.
About what?
Backlog refinement. Which chapter did you talk about the backlog refinement?
Optional events.
That should be chapter 4, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yes, that's chapter 4. All right. Any other question, please?
Yes. What is a query? I'm not even sure how to pronounce it.
Query. Yeah. So query just I want to call it filter. Call it filters that you set up to be able to see easily access the things that you commonly use or you frequently use. For example, this is a default option on this backlog. If I want to have more columns here, as opposed to just these 5 columns we have, I will need to go to the query and set that up. That's what it means.
Okay.
So, yes, there are conditions that you need to be able to put in, and then you will see more columns here. That's the meaning of query.
Okay.
Is there a way to set up this Azure DevOps on the Slack channel?
No. Well, yeah. I mean, not the capacity one. Like I always say, this is not a tool program. This is an Agile Scrum program. So all these things are really the extra benefits you guys get as being part of this program of being Agile consultant. But by default, this is not a Scrum. So, but to answer your question, yes, that document I said I shared, I can reshare that. It has a lot of information that you can use to at least get going with learning Azure DevOps. You will be able to build, download it. It has a link to the training. You'll be able to create a project and, create delivery plans and stories and stuff. So yes, I can reshare that information.
Hey, Karen, are you saying
Yes.
are you meaning that like when we get to start working, we'll be dealing more with Scrum board as compared to Azure board? This Azure DevOps?
It depends on what the company is using, if it's Jira or Azure.
No,
So
I
it just
think
depends.
I think Gerard, question, I think you don't understand. I think you're misunderstanding. You're getting things mixed up. I like you to see this Azure DevOps as is a substitute of Jira.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
that's what. Just
That
like
is necessary for
Jira,
us to use
there are
only.
different products, different providers in the market. Just the
Mhm.
same way, Jeff Bezos has. Who owns Apple though? Is Jeff? It was Jeff? No, that's not Jeff.
Not
It's
Jeff.
Steve Jobs,
Yeah.
right? Steve Apple, and then who owns Microsoft? I can't remember that person.
You get now? Is it not Bill Gates?
Okay, yeah, he owns Microsoft. These are two people selling the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so see Azure DevOps, Jira, Rally, and what's the other one? Version 1. There are many different tools out there. Monday.com, they all does the same thing.
Okay, so you just mean
inside that
it's
project, you can
for
create a Scrum board there. You can create a Kanban board, whatever you want to create,
So
depending on
in
the
other
work you're
words, a company can choose to use the Jira, they can choose to use the Azure DevOps.
Azure. Yeah.
Yes,
That means it's
yes.
necessary for us to have them. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And let me tell you, you cannot go, and that's why I keep making sure I keep reminding you all. It's not about these tools. What you're looking to understand very well is Agile and at least the Scrum framework, because Kanban is a framework on its own. Scale Safe is a framework on its own. That's what you're looking to learn. But in the process of learning that, yes, it's good that you at least get yourself familiar with one of these tools. You see. So that's what is going on here. And within being Agile, we like to introduce you to these tools so that you're just to build your confidence, and so that this is not like magic to you. But the thing is, when you have the understanding of one, it's just like you know how to use Android. When they give you Apple, you would at least find your way around it.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
You understand the theory.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
That's it.
No problem. All right, so we are 4 minutes over. I'm seeing Nico's hand is still going up. I'm not sure why it's going.
I just wanted to, like, in the metrics, really quick, in the metrics, it said, okay, we have the sprint burn down chart or the velocity. We have the backlog health. What unit of measurements do we use to measure backlog